Good evening, 6:30 PM, August 10th, 2026. I call the Select Board regular meeting to order. If you are able, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a reminder, this meeting is being broadcast live on TCTV Cable Station 8 and on YouTube web platform. A recording will be available on TCTV YouTube channel at the end of this meeting. Is anyone else recording the meeting? And all right, thank you. At this time, I'd ask you all to please silence your phones. And as a reminder, public participation will be limited to citizen input, maximum of 3 minutes per person with a time limit of 21 minutes. So as to be fair to all, the board does not enter into discussion, debate, or dialogue with individuals during citizen input. This meeting is governed by the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law and the Select Board policy. We have no meeting minutes on the agenda this evening. Do we have anyone for citizen input this evening? One, two, three.
Kenneth McClure, Bridge Street, Ballinville. Good evening. I haven't been able to attend the last few meetings, not because I stopped caring and not because the questions I have raised went away, but I've been waiting, as well as some other future questions I have. Still have to wait as we're waiting for a FOIA request to come back because people are either on vacation or we are now short-staffed in town hall. Tonight, I'm asking for a pretty simple question. Answers, accountability, and a timeline for when citizens can actually expect their questions to be addressed. I respect everyone's right to express their opinions, but I think most of us have noticed that individual board members have no problem expressing their personal opinions online, while there is very little coming officially from the select board. There was criticism of the fire and police unions for putting information out there on their union pages, but at least they were trying to get the information out there. From this point forward, I think there needs to be more information coming from the select board, not less, so residents aren't blindsided next year. Over the last several months, I've raised questions about budget, Parks and Rec funding, transparency, meeting minutes, and how decisions affect departments and taxpayers are being made. Some of those questions have been answered, some have gotten partial answers, and some have seemed to simply disappeared. They're not political questions, they're resident questions. And now we're facing an even more serious situation. The higher school budget passed, and we're now looking at an additional 1.1 in cuts. During the school budget discussion, two things we heard repeatedly were the importance of sports and trade programs, and I think that's important to recognize. If sports and trade programs are important resources for our kids and our residents, then we also need to recognize that community recreation is an important resource. These aren't luxuries. They're opportunities for kids to participate, learn teamwork, build relationships, stay active, develop character, and be a part of their community. You can see all that through our play group and our swim programs. These kids need these programs and they want these programs. And if this board comes back to the voters asking for another override, I want Parks and Recreation included in that conversation from the beginning, not as an afterthought. Because we've already seen the consequence of this increased cost that we've had to endure. We're seeing a decrease in soccer and softball registrations, and soccer was the only program where we actually increased fees for this fall. When families start saying we can't afford that, the kids start participating because the cost has become too high, and that's just not Park and Recreation's problem. That's a community problem. Our revolving account is not an unlimited bank account. Participation continues to decline because fees keep increasing. Eventually, there aren't enough registration to sustain these programs. Then we have two choices: raise the fees again or push even more families out. Or recognize that affordable recreation is a municipality service worth investing in. I'm not here asking the board to simply throw money at Parks and Rec. I am asking that if we're going to have another conversation about an override, we have to have an honest conversation about what kind of community we want to fund. And finally, I want an official answer on citizen input. I've been coming to these meetings, I've been raising questions, I've been giving this board time to respond. but I don't want to keep standing here talking to the wall. So tonight I'm asking one simple question and would officially like a response from the board. What is the timeline for citizen question and citizen input to actually receive a response? Is it one meeting to a written response in a certain number of days? I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking for what every resident deserves. If we take the time to show up,
Thank you for your
ask
comments.
legitimate questions.
I have to ask you to stop, please. Yeah, please.
Hi, my name is Maria Barnes. I've lived on Wellington Road for the past 50 years. And I want to thank the board for the difficult and often thankless job you've taken on. And also to ask you to please consider putting forth a $1.1 million override. And to make sure that the voters know exactly what is at stake. Maybe a public information session would be effective, especially if we could televise it. Last election, the anti-override forces sent a slick mailing out to every voter. Maybe people who believe in town government could do something similar to get information to the voters. Let them know which of their neighbors are going to lose their jobs and what programs are being cut. The median household income in this town is over $100,000, according to the US Census Bureau. I think we could probably afford to each pay an extra $1 a day to keep our quality of life in this town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This, then you, sir, I'm sorry.
Liz Toth, Gray Road. So there aren't any good answers to the budget challenges that we're facing. It's painful for all involved, and it will be over the next couple of years. In my opinion, without significant changes within the state funding model, with the schools ever increasing $1 million plus increases, and then the additional requirements for town services to be met. So everyone wants to keep property taxes as manageable as possible, keep elderly in their houses and not have them have to be forced out because of their inability to pay the taxes. We want to properly fund the NRSD school system to meet the educational needs of our students. We want to properly fund our police, fire, DPW, senior center, library, town hall to meet all the residents' needs. Residents need to educate themselves as to what is within and is not within the control of leadership. And we need to stop the blame game. We need to stop infighting. We need the woulda, coulda, shoulda. We need workable suggestions. We need to be able to come together as a community. There are more funding needs than there are funds that are available. So funding school, town. School wanted more, town gets less this year. This is an ongoing battle from year to year. Stop with what's in it for me. Stop with the entitlement mentality. And it's about our community's best interest that we need to keep in mind. We need to start adulting. Stop being children. These are general comments. These are my personal beliefs and aren't directed towards any specific people. Everyone needs to be involved in the community. So what I'm asking is that you start thinking outside the box. I will give you one example. So with the ACO, I've seen requests, I've seen publications for additional ACO resources. We hired the select board hired, right? That the town hired one person, and they were told that they'd probably be the only one, yet we continue to post for open positions. Instead of doing that, think outside the box, look for volunteers. I haven't seen anything posted looking for ACO volunteers. I haven't seen anything posted for using senior work-off resources. We need all of the department heads going through and looking at how we can use those resources better, as opposed to going, oh, let's hire another person. So please, everybody, think about where we are, how we got here, and how we're going to move forward. It doesn't matter what happened 5 years ago, 2 years ago, even a year ago. We need to find solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you. Sir?
John Valentine, South Main Street. You know, I don't want to live in a town where it's school against the town. And we need, it seems to me that that's happening every single year. So if we put out an override with 1.1, $365 is reasonable. But that's just to cover the town finances now. What's going to happen when the starting number of $26.9 million for the school budget starts all over again in March? And guess what? They're going to have another $1.8 million. Overrides mean nothing because we're going to need one every 6 months, one for the town, one for the school. I pay $800 to remove my trash. I accept that. To me, that's a tax though. I live in a simple 3-bedroom, 1,800 square foot home, paying $6,300, and that number's going up. So that's what we have. Is this town going to be even solvent? I say buy a fire truck, buy a couple police cars, fix the bridge, use the rainy day fund, and then go bankrupt, and then have the state take over, because maybe then we'll get some attention for the town. Maybe then they won't have outrageous $1.8 million raises for the school. 4.3 janitors per school seems outrageous for a small town like this. What did 2.5 do? I know that's peanuts. That's one little example when you could do dozens of line items for the school to take care of that. The school got what it has. Now there's nothing left for the town. So we have essential services. We're going to have a lot less of them. I've resigned the fact that if my house catches on fire, it's gone. I just hope to get out of there alive. If there's a break-in, there's a break-in. Take what you need and try not to kill me. That's what I resigned to. Do I want to live in a community like that? No. But this is what's happening year after year after year. If the town does provide to do an override, there does need to be a mailing sent out to every single resident so they know when the vote is, so they understand. Costs about $1,800. Very simple cost. Add that into the override amount. I'm not condoning that. And here's the other thing. I'm not sure who approves contracts, but contracts should not be issued for more than a 2.5% annual raise. It has to be that in the school contracts. It needs to be in the town contracts. Listen, we all want a fair wage, and people need to work and make a living, and I understand that. So you give them a wage when they come in, and then they have to be resigned to the fact that it's a 2.5% raise should you afford to get one. You're giving out 4% raises, the town's only getting a maximum 2.5%. That math doesn't work. So these are some of the suggestions I have there, but again, and the elderly, the people who come out in overrides are the elderly, and they don't want this because they can't afford it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Yep. John still wants to speak. John.
Come on up, sir.
John Thomas, Crossroad. I would like to speak about our budget problems. Templeton needs an override to support and sustain our town and school. The idea of limiting tax increases to 2.5% sounds good. But when many fixed costs are increasing by 5%, 10% or more, the math doesn't work. I'm not sure about these numbers, but from what I could find, the town budget voted in May was an increase of about $650,000 or a 6% increase. And even that resulted in significant cuts to town services. If I have those numbers wrong, please correct me on that. An override is not popular. I know that. However, I urge this board to consider it and bring it to the voters as soon as it's reasonable. I know there are rules about scheduling a vote, and getting the important information to voters is absolutely critical. And elections cost money. but a delay of months doesn't help the problem and can make it worse. In May, the overrides on the ballot failed by a wide margin. People will say, "We already tried that and the voters have spoken." Please understand, this is not the same vote or situation. In May, the override failed and resulted in a tier of cuts. 2 policemen, a DPW worker, buildings and grounds, etc. That has been put into place. Now, the stakes are higher. If a new override fails, there will be another tier of deeper cuts. People will be voting on a different set of choices, possible cuts that will affect residents more drastically. So please don't assume that voters have spoken, we can't do an override. This tier of cuts is going to be a lot different, and people need to understand that and think about it when they vote. I think $1 million override comes out to less than $1 a day for the average homeowner, $25 a month. I know the economy is not good and everything is costing more. But I hope voters want to keep the town services we have and not make any further cuts. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Administrator?
Yes, sir. I'll be quick. Chamber of Commerce meeting we held the last week. A few people attended, including Ms. Graves, and we had a nice discussion relating to town needs. It was a great discussion. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for coming out. I'd also like to welcome Chris DeMoranville, who is our new DPS director, who's here tonight, who hit the ground running and has already been very helpful in a number of meetings. Welcome, Chris. And I just wanted to mention to the board that I will be fulfilling my duty as the municipal representative to the regional school district relating to collective bargaining on Thursday night as they discuss the UFCW contract. So I just wanted to let the board know that. And that is all for my comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is business. The first item we have is a public hearing to consider application for the transfer of all alcohol retail package store license. At this time, I would move to open the public hearing for a transfer of an annual all alcohol retail package store license from Patriots Package Store 394A Patriots Road, Templeton, Mass. to Patriot Package Inc. doing business as Patriot Package at 394A Patriots Road, Templeton, Mass.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? On the motion, how would you vote? Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Culver?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett is yes. Patriots Package Store? If you come up, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Brian Burke, the attorney representing the package store, and prepared the application for the transfer. It was as a result of a death of Mark Nadeau, who passed away, who ran the business for several years, quite some time. Eventually. I'm sorry, Matthew. Mark is not. Matthew. Since that, before Matthew passed away, we tried to do some estate planning for him to work things out so the transition would be easier. So we took the property, we put it into a trust so that the trust is now the landlord of the property and the landlord for the new package store, which has been gone from a solely owned business into a corporation, so that now we've had that set up and properly established, so that we're asking that the transfer be to a corporation as opposed to Matthew and the DBA. Amanda, his sister, is going to be the manager. As she's been working with Matt during this whole process of him dealing with his cancer and has been running the business and doing a very good job of it. He's well aware of all of the rules and regulations that both the state and the town have that are very important to its operation. And we're hoping that you act affirmatively on that today. And if you have any questions, Kyle is here, who's also a member of the business, a signer of the lease, as well as with Amanda. And so we're hoping that it'll be a smooth transition.
Thank you. Are there any abutters here? And all the cards went out? They all came
Yes,
back?
all the cards went out and they provided the originals with Jill before the
I
meeting.
just wonder if anyone is present. We heard no back from no one, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that.
Police and fire, any issues, problems with this entity in the past? No, I don't recall it hit anything coming ever. Very good. Does anyone on the board have a question about just the transfer procedure, what the gentleman commented on? No abutters, no issues from police, fire, anyone? At this time, I would make motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made to close the public hearing. Any comments? Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote? Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Culver?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett is yes. At this time, I move to approve the transfer of annual all alcohol retail package store license from Patriot Package Store 394A Patriots Road, Templeton, Mass. to Patriot Package, Inc., doing business at Patriot Package 394A Patriots Road, Templeton, Mass.
Second.
Second, Eddie,
Yeah, I did.
any questions, debate on the board?
No.
None.
Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote? Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Culver?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett is yes. The transfer is approved. They are all set. Thank you so much.
Thank you. But before I go, I just want to say that throughout this process, there were members of the town hall that were very helpful in this process, providing information, giving us the documentation that we needed and everything. And I just wanted to say that it was Laurie Witta and Jill Blood and Rhonda Parentville. They were very helpful, and I know that it's a tough job, sometimes a thankless job, and I just wanted to say that they were very helpful, and thank you to them as well.
Thank you so much. Always good to hear.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
Well,
Good evening.
Congratulations.
I'm gonna take a couple things because we put a time on the agenda for the hearing. We can't start before. I was expecting more public comments. Take care of a couple of things that should be rather quick. One, we have the warrant for the 2026 Mass State primary. So at this time, I move to have the select board sign the state primary election warrant as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote? Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Culver?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett is a yes. Item H, there was an anonymous donation of a tablet, a bag, and some other things that were found on the door to the animal control facility with a note for the town to accept these. So at this time, I would move to approve the donations to Templeton Animal Control as presented.
Second.
Not sure who did it, but thank you very much. That just adds to the fact that of that building when back in 2006, residents got together. The building previous was a disaster. It was non-usable. Residents donated time, contractors donated their labor, and various companies provided materials, and the Monty Tech students did the block work. There were signs on the building of all the companies that donated materials. So that's an example of a facility that was done not really in the old days, at least this century. So that's an example of how things can get done. There's an operating cost tax, to it, but the building itself was done volunteers and donations. So again, whoever donated, thank you very much. On the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Culver?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett is yes. And as we all know, Mr. Richard Curtis has announced he intends to retire as the Emergency Management Director. He's been there for a while. His time there, he's been very active in seeking out grants for that department. I plan on hopefully the board will concur, will do something for Rich at their next meeting. This just came in, and so at this time, I would move to accept the retirement notice of Mr. Richard Curtis from the Emergency Management Director position.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Just wanted to say thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you for your service and congratulations.
Technology. On the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Culver?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett is a yes. That takes care of all that. Except for that. Next item on the agenda is the poll hearing. At this time, I move to open the public hearing for consideration of moving polls of Templeton Municipal Light and Verizon Communication numbers 2, 3, 4, and to install a new pole 2-S on Gavin Road.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. On the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Cover?
Yes.
Ms. Tough?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett is yes. Mr. Berry?
Good evening. I'm Barry, Superintendent with the Light Department. We're looking to move a few of the poles on Gavin Road. Currently, a few of them sit off the road quite a ways. So we're actually going to be replacing all the poles with a grant that we received. But poles 2, 3, and 4, we'd like to relocate to the side of the road. And also install an additional pole across the street from pole 2 as a guy pole. Pole 2 be moving about 22 feet toward the road. Likewise with pole 3 and pole 4, it's about 14 feet. Currently they're off into people's property right now, so looks like to get them on the side of the road where we can get to them a little easier.
Thank you, Tom. Is there anybody here? Anyone have any issues with the poles being moved? Nothing. Anyone from the board have a question on why they're being moved? Or with the movement?
Yeah, again, this was part of a grant that we received from the Department of Energy. We're gonna be doing a few roads in that area. As part of a resiliency project. We have Gavin Road, Norcross Hill, and Royalston also.
It's in the
This is
plans.
the first of,
So we'll be seeing you again.
you'll be seeing me again.
May I ask?
Yes.
So why are you moving poles as opposed to putting them in the ground, putting the wires in the ground? Because going back, I forgot which president it is that actually mandated that all electrical start going in ground. So why do we continue putting them on poles instead?
Expense, mostly.
But isn't it long-term from a management perspective cheaper to long-term?
It is, but you've got many utilities on the poles too, so it's a kind of a coordination thing, and they'd have to agree to it also.
Any further questions?
Mr. Chair. The only question I had was to you, Tom, was what's the split you're putting between pole 2 and the pole 2 anchor pole across the street?
Typically, they're about 6, 8 feet.
Off each side of the road, so you just,
Oh, the distance between the pole and the anchor, is that what you're asking?
yeah, well, you said you were putting a pole, new pole for 2, and then you were putting a pole across the street.
Yes, yep.
so
So
that-
both of them will be just on the side of the street.
Okay, whatever the street width is.
Yeah, usually
No. Okay,
2, 3 feet off the side.
Okay. all right, thanks.
Any other questions? Hearing none. At this time, I move to close the public hearing of the pole relocation on Gavin Road.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none to the motion to close the public hearing, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Culver?
Yes.
Ms. Toth?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett is yes. At this time, I would move to approve the movement of the Templeton Light and Verizon Communications poles numbers 2, 3, and 4, and to add a new pole 2-S on Gavin Road as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none on the motion, how would you vote, Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Graves?
Yes.
Ms. Culver?
Yes.
Mr. Toth?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett is yes. We're done. We're all set.
Okay. Very
All
good.
right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Thank you,
good
Tom.
evening.
Thanks, Tom.
Now the one that everyone is here for. All right, the last item on the agenda is to adjourn. Do you want to change job speed?
Not at
No? You could keep your pay. So it's the budget override discussion. We have department heads here. And along this would be to have a special town election if we decide to have a warrant. The town clerk is here. If we voted to have a special election, because I believe we're past the time to be able to get on the state because you have to get permission from the state and you gotta send it in early, so. And also, if we decide to vote for an override and a special election, there is a cost to it, but when we go into our already scheduled planned special town meeting in October, we can have articles to appropriate the funds if the override is approved, because it's a two-step process. An override can get approved, it will increase the tax levy, but until that money is appropriated by town meeting, it's not spent. All you have is excess levy capacity, so and if the override fails, then you just pass over those articles. If you do it, if we don't hold a special election, we just go to town meeting and wait afterwards, you have to follow it up with a special town meeting. To me, it just makes more sense to know going into the town meeting whether the override passes or not. Then you just plan accordingly. I emailed department heads last week. Most of them came back with an answer of what they thought they could cut. So the fire chief, he said that he did not see anything in his budget that he could cut further from what we had already done when we removed 894,000 out of original budget. And now we're looking for another 1.1 million. The library, which has an appropriation of $97,000, and that's a tough one because when you cut the library so far, they will lose state certification, and anyone with a library card, it's useless because you cannot go to any other library or anything like that. It's a funding issue and an hour issue. It has to be funded by a percentage of the town budget, and so, Ms. Bond, would you please come up and explain your do this far better than I can.
So any cut to the library's budget will require us to apply to the state for a waiver of our minimums. This is because we have budgeted pretty much right to that number that the formula dictates the library must be funded. And so a waiver is likely to be granted if in paperwork and possibly in person, we can prove that the library budget wasn't cut disproportionately, which I think we can. We would also be able to drop our open hours to 22.5. That represents a 6.5 hour cut. We could do that without jeopardizing certification. That would result in a 12.5% reduction of the state aid that we receive as being certified. So it's, you know, kind of a little bit of a lateral move. In addition, we have a minimum of materials expenditure that we need to meet based on the town's population. That could be reduced by no more than 10% and retain certification. Again, the state aid would be impacted. And to accomplish this, and we would expend any monies needed to make that minimum from other funds like our state aid grant. This would basically mean reducing each of the 2 library assistants by 3 hours per week. And again, shifting some of that materials budget towards the state aid or donations, which are one-time funds. And we also reduced some employee support items just to subscriptions for the amount of $205 per year. Total is $12,760. I do want to make a point, and I spoke with both of my library assistants while I was putting this together, and they feel, whatever we need to do to keep the library open and certified, they're willing to work with. And I do want to make it clear that this is a reduction in services. There's no way you can cut a $97,000 budget by 12, almost 13,000 and not have an impact in the services. The hours would be less. Yeah, so it's not ideal. It was something I wanted to do to feel like a team player, because many of my colleagues have already had their budget sustained hits. And so we wanted to offer whatever we could.
And the importance of, as I see it, to keep the library open is twofold. It is a valuable resource to the town and the residents for more than just being able to get books. And also the amount of money that was just spent to rehab that little building that's served the town for many, many years. It's a very important resource from my view. Certainly not something that we want to just shutter. Spend all that money and there's no way you're not gonna keep mold and stuff out of that. And I thank you on behalf of the board for the work that you did with the small budget that you already have, and you had already agreed to some cuts in the first iteration, and 12 grand from 97. It's like just about the smallest budget in town. I mean.
And that budget came in low to begin with.
Anything from the board with Jackie?
Oh, well, she does the senior center too, so she's already in the.
She will, I just.
And I will say you're correct. And I've had so many people say that can't be right. If the library is closed or if its budget is cut below a certain threshold, our certification is lost, and that will literally flag any Templeton resident. Even if your library card originally came from Gardner, you're in the system as a Templeton resident. That will be flagged. You will not be able to borrow from any other library as a resident of a town that underfunded or closed its library for a minimum of 18 months. It's a big, long process to regain certification once it's lost. And the impact to residents, homeschoolers, I can't even estimate the amount of money that is saved by having this library resource in the reciprocal borrowing. So you're correct.
Stay put. Anyone else have anything for Jackie on the library?
Did you obtain the waiver from the state?
The waiver process opens in, it's actually open now. It's the next two reports that go to the state are due in early October. And that's where you would have to submit your waiver application. We've done it once before in the past, many years ago. And it requires some backup documentation, a statement from trustees, select board members, myself. And then the Board of Library Commissioners meets in December and January, and they will make determinations on libraries that are certified and libraries that have asked for a waiver.
I appreciate you taking the time to look through your budget.
Sure.
Present us with additional cuts. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Well,
Thank you, Jackie.
Yep.
Yeah,
anything else on the library?
I'm the library. Nope.
So, since you wear that other hat, can you talk to the senior center proposal?
Yeah, the senior center again, Ryan and I met, Ryan Brown, the senior center manager, and I met, went through the budget line by line, had some hard conversations. And we tried to come up with some cuts that would pose the least impact to the seniors themselves and the services that they rely on. Ryan is a small business owner, in addition to her position here in Templeton, and she offered a cut to her weekly hours of 7.5 hours per week. I appreciate that offer. I listed it here, but I do want to point out that Ryan is fabulous. If we were to implement the cut of these hours and then we lose Ryan, I think it would be really difficult to attract someone as great as her for that few hours. So I look at these and it's hard, but I want to be transparent that some of these cuts will have kind of a ripple effect going forward. It's not something that is probably a great idea to keep and say, oh, this is all we need. We did also eliminate the kitchen manager position, which was a tough one because like the library, that kitchen is beautiful. It's nearing its final, stamp of approval, and it's hard to see that would not be staffed and provide, the meals that we had hoped it would. I've offered to reduce my hours by 2 per week. We would reduce the assistant dispatcher's hours by 5 per week. Again, we have a dispatcher and we have an assistant dispatcher. If for whatever reason the dispatcher is not in, if she is sick, or no rides can be booked without an actual trained dispatcher. So that assistant position is really important. Our rides are important. You've heard that from many seniors, and it actually generates revenue for the town. And as a result of these staffing adjustments, we would close at noon on Thursdays. Thursday afternoon was the day and time that we identified as a period where programs could be shifted without too much disruption. So, and then we listed deeper budget cuts, which would be to close all day on Thursday and to eliminate the assistant dispatcher position altogether. Really don't want to think about that because again, the scheduling of rides could be really impacted by that. So we were trying to, again, continue to offer the services that people really need, preserves jobs and staff. So that total was 36,039.
And the senior population in town is between 18 and 20%, around there. And the senior center 27 budget is at 150,000 and some change. And of that, 50,000 comes from the Elders Affair grant and the MART reimbursements. And if the MART doesn't run, you're not going to get them reimbursements. So I don't know how hard that is to come back from, but again, that's more than just the seniors. The MART buses run. They take seniors to medical appointments, and the senior center has helped seniors looking for housing. You go to the Council on the Aging meeting. It's a part of the population that is vulnerable, and not all seniors are well off and can afford to do some of these things. You may not drive, this or that. On the flip side of that is potential tax increase with an override. It hits them extremely hard. Not everybody's a veteran, not everybody sits on a board, not everybody works for town, but everybody, unless you check out early, is going to be a senior. Everybody, don't escape it unless you check out early. So that's a big cut out of a relatively small budget for an entity that does a lot of services that aren't always in the limelight.
Right. Meals on Wheels, yeah. I mean, these are not budget reductions that I would really want to see long-term. Just, there will be an impact.
Any other comments from the board?
Again, going through your budget and I mean, coming up with a 23% cut in senior services. Thank you.
And to Ryan too.
Appreciate it.
Do we have, like the Mart, is there an agreement or a contract on how that works?
Yes,
We did, when was that renewed?
I believe it's every 2 years. I don't know. I think it's every 2 years,
I don't want to go, but. I
but it's
can't.
current. I know it's current.
Okay,
There
I
were-
just want to make sure that there's no clauses or any obligations that we agree to in that contract be looked at. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you as well, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie.
The treasurer collector, we already squeezed their budget pretty tight. She did offer $1,300. You have anything else to add, Cheryl?
No, not really. I mean, I cut, that's for my certification. I have to at least go to one, but I had cut the last one. The school last time. It has to be, it has to be.
The next department is development services. Miss Weta?
Hello, Lauren.
Good evening. So from what I submitted, as you know, I've classified it as a worst case scenario. What I really can't do without running the department is the people I work with. For a year, for maybe more, we can get away with some cuts. As an example, purchase of services. We've taken care of the payment already for our MPHN contract, which includes our health nurse, things like that, epidemiologist, and that left about $800. We can cut our notices, which are our advertisements for legal ads. A lot of our legal ads are now paid for by the entities that are doing the projects. So I left $1,600 for zoning and for planning, because when town meeting comes around, if we need to be able to do something or advertising. Sure. It just went totally blank. When we have to put in new zoning regulations into the newspaper to be able to bring them to town meeting, Gardner News costs a fortune these days, so I left some money for that. Landfill cap mowing, it's been up until now pretty dry. I think we could probably get away with 1 year without mowing if we check it every once in a while. It'll be inspected in October is usually when it happens. We get a lot done last year. Pest control, that's $2,000. I'm not sure what DPS and the PD have for rabies funding, because we are sometimes responsible for rabies testing. So we may have to look at that before cutting the whole thing. Postage, a lot of things are now reverted to residents or businesses when they have site plan review and things like that, so it reverts to them. Supplies, paper, ink, envelopes, we go through a lot of it, but we've been reining it in and doing a lot through scanning and emailing people and making it their responsibility to print it and bring it back to us. it ended up being about 17,300 that our department came up with. As long as we don't have any catastrophes or emergencies. I mean, like I said, worst case scenario.
Any comments from the board? Questions for Lori?
No questions, just a thank you.
We went for it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lori.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time to go through your budget.
Uh, the accountant, we had her budget.
Oops. Thanks.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Oh,
Can you push your microphone closer or speak louder? It's hard to
Okay.
hear you.
I get told that a lot by the one who does the minutes.
Yeah.
So, I know we had already, the first iteration, we cut things out of your budget and there's really not much to cut left to.
The biggest gamble is the audit. We still don't have our 25 audit because we're still waiting on the water audit. I know they went to a new system. I think that's part of the holdup, but right now we don't even know if we have an auditor for fiscal year 26, which would be paid in 27. I don't know if any of you noticed, but Grant Thornton has also now bought out CBiz. We don't know what's going to happen with that. CBiz may decide they're not doing municipal at all, for all we know. The municipal accounting and auditing section is, there's no options. There's literally like going to be 3 people left, depending what happens with CBiz. And CBiz has so much business that they can't keep up. So, I mean, the audit is the biggest unknown. As I said, when I came in March, I was trying to level fund my budget, but with the unknown of the audit, I can't reduce it and feel comfortable that we're going to get the things we're statutorily obligated to get. And even as far as Jackie's certification, I completed one of those last year from my previous town. There is quite a bit of work and numbers that go into that too. So that is another thing that's going to come to my office that needs to be done. And I do my best to help everyone, to point out things that can be done with a better best practice, to whether it's help the treasurer bring the tax title revolving account to town meeting to move the town forward. I do the best I can to make sure that the town is getting the best they can get. But again, education is like the one other thing in here. And we all know education is important. That's why Templeton passed that school budgets, because they believe in education. So we can't stand here on one hand and believe in education, but then ask all our department heads to cut all the education to our employees either. Not if we want them to do what's best for the town. The only other thing is me and my assistant. And I know there's talk of cutting hours and cutting people, but without my full-time assistant, payroll and benefits is completely in my office. Between Park and Rec, they bring on a lot of employees. I know they're seasonal and stipends, but all that is still payroll and benefits. Light and water, we still do all their benefits. We still process all their payroll, all their accounts payable. There's a lot that goes on. There's a lot that needs to be checked. And there's no way to do it all without my assistant.
Anything on the board?
I did. When I was at the conferences, this past winter, we go to the different booths and stuff for MMA, and, I got upon different ones, and I said about audits, and they said there ain't no companies. There's nobody out there. Everybody's looking for auditors.
The last one we interviewed, which we still haven't gotten a quote from, when I told her what we currently pay, short of laughing at us, she laughed at it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's not really any options out there. And I mean,
But they're all looking. That's what
Right,
they're all saying.
right.
They're saying they can't find companies.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what section of Massachusetts you're in, they're not finding people that are doing this kind of work anymore. But yeah, it's an obligation. We can't be certified. We can't get our tax
Right.
rates and stuff without
Right,
getting.
it
audit.
even affects our bond. I
We
mean,
can't
there's,
get money.
right, there's no way around it, but I don't honestly know what towns are gonna do, especially, we don't know what's gonna happen with Grant Thornton. It was recent, I think I just saw it last weekend. But I mean, it is a very real possibility. I spoke to our auditors today, and even the auditing world is wondering, CBIZ, not only do they do municipal audit, but they also act as municipal accountants in certain towns, and no one knows if that's gonna go away, if auditors are gonna go away.
And I know you tried different avenues. You tried to see what different school districts use to see if they had different firms than towns and cities were using.
Yeah, there's one in South Deerfield that I can't get a response from, and I'm guessing they just have more work than they would know what to do with. Even when I spoke to Roselli today, they're getting inundated with requests because a lot of people who have CBIZ, which is getting behind, they're looking to go elsewhere because they need their audits as well. And then now with CBIZ being bought out, the only other one I know of is CLA, which is more out east, and they're the ones that we interviewed but haven't gotten a quote from yet.
And can you tell everybody how bad this is if we don't have an auditor?
I mean, statutorily, you're required to have an audit.
Each year.
Bond counsel, it's one of their most important things. I mean, we're currently have a ban for the sewer that every year we send back out to bid. If you don't have a bond rating, I mean, it's not going to be good. You'll be paying interest through I mean, you'll still probably get a ban. You're just going to pay interest through the roof, which just costs you more money.
Yeah. Thank you for everything you're trying to do.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Just one question here. I just wanted to clarify. Looking at last year's BB&A, I see there's, you turned in, left, on a table 35, 343, 81. Is that because of the lack of the audit?
Right, that's not being left on the table, that's being encumbered.
Okay.
Basically for the audit.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. The BVAs can be a little misleading, even just for the general public. Anything that is encumbered doesn't necessarily show up on the BVA because it's basically just moved to the next year. I do keep a separate spreadsheet, which I believe I sent a few of you, at least the 25 one, that shows all the transfers, all the encumbrances, as far as the special article lines, anything that's being held over for that. So a lot of departments, I don't know off the top of my head what we currently had for 26, but I think at least 34,000 of that was encumbered. So, I mean.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that everybody knew it was off the table.
I mean, hopefully it'll get spent this year, but.
Anything else, Brandon? Thank you.
Thank you.
The deputy assessor offered up a modest cut, but we had already pretty much hit that department in the first go round.
So the only thing in looking through all of my budget was $200 out of education that would give us or give my office what I would typically do in a year, 2 conferences and either a course or a workshop. The reason why it was a little different, or the reason why we can reduce it is because it looks like the prices that we're getting for registrations, because that's only registration fees, are been pretty consistent, at least over the last year. But they can, depending on the venue and depending on the price increases that happen, a registration can swing upwards of $50 to $100 depending on the event, which I need to attend in order to keep educational credits and in order to be aware of what's going on within the assessing world for legislative updates and with any specialty things that are going on. There have been a few things that the legislature has pondered in terms of changing that I've only been able to find out not through, you would think through either, the DLS alerts or through the regular email chains that we get through the Massachusetts Association of Assessing Officers, but actually being there and sitting there and being like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that they were thinking about that and how far along it's moved in the legislative process. Some things that they've pondered could make significant changes. Some are better, some are questionable, some are, it's all across the board, but it's something that we have to be aware of because as soon as a law goes into effect, it's either going to affect this fiscal year, or it's going to affect the next fiscal year. Other than that, everything, our purchase of services, those are all things that we have to do. We've already spent, you've all signed the warrants. We've already spent quite a bit out of our purchase of services. I spent more last year in the last fiscal year, meaning FY26, in my supplies. I can make it work with what I have in there, but I can't get it cut down any further. Even in purchase of services, I'm a little bit higher on one account because of one subscription that did change after we went through the initial budgets. So I can't really move anything else other than that. So do you have any questions?
I did.
Yeah.
Your MAAO training, are you down to the bare minimum there as far as what's required for training and certifications? Or are you just going to stay up to date on stuff?
Right now, with that would be essentially the minimum that would right there would be the minimum amount that I would need. I'm in a bit of a weird holding pattern because of when I got my certification. I have a little bit of extra time. But the normal process is you renew every 2 years on the month of your birth. So after this year, it's my 2027 is my renewal. So I have to have so many credits. Some of those have to be a mandatory USPAP update. I did the USPAP update in FY26, so I don't need to do another USPAP update until the 2028 one comes out because they do that about every 2 years now.
And that is the training that's requiring you to do mileage?
Training, what do you?
I have a mileage charge here too.
Right, there is a mileage charge there. Like I said, I don't use it, but it is there. But I am I'm gonna have to pull out of that account for the overage that's in purchase of services because of my subscription with Esri for my for using the local GIS that I use within the office with Vision. That went up. It was about $110 and it went up to $500. So I'm gonna have to pull from education and from items within employee support in order to do that.
$10 and
I believe it was 110. It was either 110 or 100 last year. And it went up to 500.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anything else? Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Justice.
Thank you, Justice.
The town clerk? I don't think. We can talk special election expense and so forth. Yeah. If we go that route, it's going to be.
So looking over my budget, I could reduce it by 550. I could take away from a conference, and then that would be also for mileage. But if you're looking to have a special town election, that's going to be about an additional $5,000. And the state has just sent out its postcards for a vote by mail, and I've just gone through at least 600 today. So that's going to be an additional $800 in postage for our special town election, because I have to mail them out to the residents because the people checked off all ballots, all elections this year. They want ballots.
We just squash that, that's what that.
So you'd be looking for money rather than cutting.
Yeah.
Facing the wrong way for that one.
Well, that's the draw. Yeah. So other than our office, that is town hall. And back when we were, and it seems like it goes in waves. The late nineties, state aid gets cut. The town cuts its budget. Things go down financially and then they start coming back up and then they go down. In 14, it was on the downhill. Not so much state aid, but at that point in time, state aid had been cut in 8 and 9. And when they give it to you, they give you state aid the next year, it might go up a little bit, but they never compensate for what they reduced the years before. So it's like you constantly stay behind because the legislature, it's the way that it works. And I say 16 or 17, there was a selectmen's meeting and they were talking about town finance. And John Columbus, former member of this board, made a statement it's never been truer. Administration and budget have the things that have hounded this town, and this year, it's not only just this town where finance budget is important. I was reading an article back in 2017, there were 21 overrides. That's from the state website. In 2026, there were 74 towns with overrides, with multiple questions, as we did. Most of them failed. So when you've heard these people come up here in town hall, this is what makes the thing run. The accountant said it. We've cut hours for non-union people. They're always they've been the low-hanging fruit. They leave, you don't have an accountant, or you have one that's in training. Treasurer has been the same way. And then you have people, light department, police, doesn't matter. Where's my W-2? My vacation's messed up, my health insurance, this is the building, the people in this building that make the town run. Because just like the roads, everybody uses the roads. All the town departments, all the town employees use the people that work in this building. So this building is not the place that you want to cut. If you cut too low, people will leave. Certified municipal accountant, these days, like auditors, they can write their own ticket and their salaries are way higher than what Templeton pays. So that's a thing that I would just remind people of, including the members of the board. I've been there, done that, and it has not worked out well for the town as a whole. This is like the roads. Everybody uses this building. So, thank you.
Do we have any cuts for the select board office?
Thank you, Carol.
First, we'll save us for last.
Okay.
Police chief. Can you give us the good news or the bad news or just the news?
Well, I was in here previously to discuss the cuts we already had. And Mr. May asked me if we had to do additional cuts, what would happen? I said it would be drastic. I said at that last meeting, next cuts, more people. We all know that. What people have brought up here as cuts is peanuts. We all know that. It's not going to help a thing. That's why I didn't do any more cuts. You're gonna tell me how much I gotta cut, and that's plain and simple. Whether it's $300,000 or $400,000 or more. So I'd rather you just tell me what I gotta cut and I'll make the cuts.
So, we laid off one police officer,
And lost the position.
right, and they're already, I understand that they're always working somewhere else, and
We were fortunate enough that Officer Stewart got picked up in Ashby. We also have 2 more officers that are leaving us because of the circumstances in the town. Job security, was their number 1 issue. So,
and that would be like most people. Again, in this building, the last, in 2012, we had to make cuts. We recessed town meeting. I think there's 2 of those people left in this building, when I was having to deal with that. Because the rest of them, again, the job security, the pay, people, the old days, people would work for towns for low pay but good benefits and job security, but that's no longer the case.
it's not happening.
So you're essentially 3 officers short than when we started the budget back in March. Down 3, correct?
Down two right now.
But you have 2 that are in the process, so
2 that, 1 is last day is this Friday. 1's last day is the 24th, I believe.
and then there's the one that we had laid
And then
off.
we have 2 out IOD.
And you have one coming back next week?
No one's coming back next week.
Anybody?
Any additional cuts, we're gonna lose additional coverage hours. We're going to lose the detective's position. We are gonna lose the SRO position. The SRO position would be twofold to the town because the town would lose revenue from the district that would come in for covering the salary for the officer when he's in the school. And 2, the school would have to handle all their student problems because we will not respond unless it's criminal in nature.
Anything else? Anybody have anything from the board?
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
I just went through your budget and excuse, I don't know if some of this has already been cut. Unfortunately, I only had the draft 2 of our budget season. I just received the new copy today, about 2 hours before our meeting, so I apologize.
Yes.
Can you explain to me? I know it's gonna sound petty, but I've gone through everybody's budget, line by line. And again, I was going by an old budget. Yeah, it sounds like pennies, but at the end of the day, I did come up with about 800,000. Cutting just line by line, but again, they may have already made these cuts.
So
prior
one of
to
the
coming on
problems,
the board.
April, is cutting line by line is not functional operation of a department. Just because you sit there and say, oh, that's high. That's your opinion. You don't have knowledge of how it works.
Conversation, isn't it?
I've already had cuts to my budget,
I understand.
okay? The board went through 7 rounds of cuts. Mr. May brought up cutting ammunition and said, oh, we can cut that because that's a high number and we qualify with just our firearms. No, we qualify with all platforms we carry, long rifle, shotgun, and firearm. So when you're making cuts, just looking off of that, that's not functional operation. So if you want to cut money, tell me I got to cut 300,000 and I'll figure out where it's coming from. Because then I will know my department can still operate with what we have left. I'll answer your question.
I had a couple of questions. Can you explain to me this cheap education incentive pay of 10% of your salary?
It's contractual.
Thank you. I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different dispatchers. And then you have per diem shift dispatchers also.
There's 5 dispatchers.
And then the per diem shift.
That's correct.
Um,
Do you want to know what the per diem shifts are for?
Yep.
That's because you cannot ask a dispatcher not to work and have their skills up to par. So if they are not going in on a regular basis and keeping their skills up, they're useless.
And how many dispatchers do you typically have on at a time?
1, and 1 is / assistant dispatcher. So 3 days a week, that individual is the admin of the office, and 2 days a week, he covers dispatch.
I'm going to assume police education incentive is also contract.
Contractual.
Again, please bear with me.
Yep,
with this.
no problem.
So I see here that you have a lot of vacation backfill, sick leave backfill, personal backfill. And those are all large dollar amounts.
It's all
Then-
contractual.
Go figure. Okay. And then as far as your training, I see that we have, training registration fees of $8,500. Chief training / dues of $10,500. Are those all mandatory training classes that you're going to?
It's all contractual and mandated by post.
And then I was told that the 80,825 for the cruiser was already done. That was taken out,
That was taken out.
and that's all I have for you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
I just have one question.
Yes,
So if you have an officer, and I believe you did recently, if they say are instructing at the police academy, is there any money that comes back to the town from?
they're doing that on their own time.
So if they're doing that in the daytime, then
That's on their time off.
is that a full-time
No,
thing? Okay, so there's no official thing where they go there and there's
No.
any money come back to the town?
No.
All right, like 500,000 from your budget, we're halfway there.
Jeff, unfortunately,
No, I know where the budget is. As I've been here before doing this, we're not gonna cut $1 million out of this budget, when we've already did $1 million, without, there'll be you and some dispatchers and maybe a couple firemen to run an ambulance, maybe, and that would be, then the ambulance receipts goes away and all of that. It's there without any people, and they won't come back.
no,
They won't come.
no.
back.
And from this, unfortunately, our town is taboo now. Nobody's gonna come work here.
You get it, and it'd take a long while for that.
A
to
long while.
Come back.
When I took over in 2014, this is where we were coming from, and we're going to a worse place. And it took us over 10 years to get back
to where we were in 2014.
And like I said before, everybody rides on the roads, and if you have nobody that's not getting plowed, well, the school kids ain't getting there. And the ambulance house gonna get there and call the police. Well, I'll get there if I can get through full of snow. And
So
that's not-
unfortunately, we all got here because we did some of the same things that led us to 2014. Former town administrator lowered the tax rate. It was peanuts. It was 26 cents or whatever it was. Okay, but that still would have been money in the coffers instead of lowering the tax rate. Then that year, the school wanted roughly almost $300,000. Where'd we take the money from? Stabilization.
430.
No, that was the following year.
That was the next.
Okay, so that's free cash.
Mhm.
We can't do that. The following year, what happened?
215.
Almost 500,000. Where'd we get that from? Free cash. I told the town administrator at that time, we needed an override. That was FY 25. If we would have done enough override in FY 25, would have been 1.5, maybe 2 million. No, that didn't happen. We got the FY 26. FY 26, I took $122,000 cut. Said I could do it for 1 year. And FY 27 is even worse.
We got 1.9 something million worth of cuts we have to make in the town this year, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking, your override can't be $1.2 million. We're gonna be right back here in May again.
That's already been pointed out, and not to just drag this out, but I think I've sent it to the board. If I haven't, I will resend it. Back in 14, we did the table, looked at from 2005 till that point, except for 1 year. The town, there was an article on town meeting, it was all of the free cash to use for the budget. You take that, you take your receipts, local receipts, you take your state aid, you add it, and then whatever else you need is what you got from tax dollars. But they did that every year in 14, 16, I think, when they did the audit, was presentation in 17, there was $93,000 in the town's general stable. That was the savings the town had for backup funding. I'd only pay for one person. The town paid for the Worcester County retirement in part from general stabilization fund. This is not a new thing. It's just, again, administration and budget, and we've been cheap and done not good things planning wise. That's why the Department of Revenue and both the financial management reviews that they did in 2009 and 2021. Stop using free cash for your general fund budget, because it has kept not so much the tax rate down, but it's kept the tax levy low. And again, we're in this cycle, and the only way we're going to get out of this thing, keep doing this, is additional funding, and then use the override for what you say you're going to use it for. Because the override has to go in the first year for what you say it will be. After that, it just adds to the pile on the table, and it starts getting used for other things. And we got a lot of money, everything is cool, and we start handing it out, and then we end up here. So
The only number that is going to get the town any breathing room for a few years would be the department requested FY 27 budget, the full FY 27 plus 10%. That's the only one that's going to get you any years. Anything that's just a Band-Aid is just going to put us right back in the same
it's
spot.
only a year. Yeah. In 2000, my last comment on this thing, then we'll
Do you really?
move on. 2018, the town did an override for like $423,000. We had an informational meeting, like has been brought up, and someone asked, I think I was on the advisory committee, and they said, what do you think? And I recommended a I thought you should do $1 million override at that time.
Mhm.
I thought the same thing back in 2013. We did 660,000, I think. And most of that was for the school. And if we do $1 million to pay for the school bill, that just takes care of this year. It's a big ask, but if it's not 3 million, it's not gonna give
Oh,
us.
I would just like to say something, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
That you can go and do exactly what the chief says, but the school's just gonna gobble it up. Come March in the budget, where's that gonna get us? They're just gonna keep on giving it and say to the kids, and then the services to the rest of the town is gonna go to garbage. And we can't keep it up. They have to go through their budget. It's never gonna stop this madness. They're way overfunded and maybe they need it all, but I don't know because I can't see behind the magic curtain. And it's just gonna keep on hurting our town. We're never gonna get out of this madness, in my opinion. I mean, the state can give us a bunch of money. Will they ever give us a bunch of money? I doubt it, where we live in this section. I mean, people can promise anything to the moon and the sun. But at the end of the day, come when I hit that budget season, come March, the school's gonna tell me 11 something. And then they're gonna drop it to 10, and we're not gonna wait for that third drop. We're just gonna vote like just happened. There was a third drop and everybody sat there and voted for it. We'll never know. Could they have gone lower? We'll never know. Because
And I
it
think
didn't
the
go.
residents need to understand too, that we don't have control over the school's budget. We don't do line by line like we do our own budgets. They are a separate entity from the town. I think there was a lot of confusion there.
That's part of education.
But the town meeting can vote whatever budget they want to. It
Yep.
just sends it back to the school committee, so.
Yep.
If we decide to, we'll send you I know we already cut as much as we're gonna cut. It just, I mean, yeah, we can just say, you got no people, and you got no people.
And then one more thing.
What?
If we do an override and it fails, we're spending money right now, this moment, and we shouldn't be spending that money.
You're absolutely correct.
So that if it fails, because a lot of people can't afford it,
Mhm.
and they say no at the poll or at the town meeting, and we don't get it, because you have to do both ends, and it fails, and we're currently spending right now, it's irresponsible for this board to continue the path without doing some initial cuts, just in case, because right now, this moment, we shouldn't be signing those payrolls right now. We shouldn't be signing all that stuff out the door.
You're correct.
Spending 10% over every time we spend it again.
We're not protecting our town's interest. It's scary to think about this right now. And no one's gonna bail us out. No offense, Senator.
Well, you could write us a check.
He doesn't have that power.
Yeah.
Big
Is
Street.
fire chief still here?
Yeah.
Sure. Could you come up, Dick? I know you stated, there was, much you could cut, but we've already cut. My first thought with the fire department / ambulance is, and I'm pretty confident there's enough there to get part of the year, but the thing with the fire department is this half of the salaries come from taxation and half come from the ambulance receipts. So 6 employees times 46-ish or so, they get us a
276.
quarter mil,
76,000.
something, and maybe make it that up, with ambulance receipts, whether it would go all year or not. I'm not sure.
So beside, I mean, you're saving approximately 40,000, give or take a little bit per employee, that comes out of taxation, on their base salary. If you tried to move all of that over to ambulance funds, again, I'm not sure if it would last all year, but there are other needs for what's left in the ambulance funds. We're looking at some pretty major equipment needs. We have cardiac monitors that we need to replace. They're no longer covered under a service contract where if they break, they fix them because the company we buy them from says, well, the company that we bought these from say that they're only good for 7 to 8 years, and then we have to buy new ones. And, you know, you're talking about $50,000 per unit on those. We do have partial funding for one cardiac monitor this year, but I was hoping to be able to go to fall town meeting out of the ambulance receipts to get that second one. We have the option, you can try to put different cardiac monitors in different ambulances, but they operate differently. You're asking for mistakes for that to happen. You're talking about different trainings on different monitors that you gotta send your people to instead of one training for one monitor. To me, it's too dangerous to do. We want to have the same equipment in both trucks. It's just, the money's not there. If there is some money for part of the year, that's a partial savings for this year. We're looking at ambulance receipts reductions for the fiscal year we're in now. We lost Clearbrook Treatment Center to Winchington. They finally saw what we were doing with it and decided to use it as a revenue projection, and they took it back from us. I estimate at least $100,000 loss on that for receipts. We've gone up in our ambulance revenue every year. First year I took over as chief, 2017, we were bringing in roughly $250,000 back then. A lot of it going out to our ALS partners because they were coming in and doing that for us. Last year, for the second year in a row, we brought in just north of $600,000 in that fund. So the ambulance receipts fund was working as it was designed. We were saving money. We were taking some of the burden off the town for employees. Not all of it, but some of it. We're never going to be able to take all of it off. That's just something that we can't do. But it was helping. It was doing the things. We have an ambulance on order right now. Production of it should be starting in September. We're looking to take delivery of that in November or December. Aside from what we have as open free in our ambulance reserve, we have money sitting in there to pay for that cash. There will be no leasing it, no payment on it, no interest, because of the way the ambulance reserve was set up to be able to fund our capital needs and some of our employee needs as well. And taking more to go towards the employee needs is just robbing Peter to pay Paul, because now I'm going to be coming up here against every department looking at our capital needs. And when we do our capital needs, our capital equipment is not small ticket items. The same company that we bought the monitors from in the past, we get our stretchers from. Those are $30,000-ish or so. Every 7 years, they want them replaced. The load system that goes into the ambulance so that our people can save on back injuries and we can it picks up the stretcher for us, same price every 7 years. Our capital needs are not small, but we had a plan that was working so that we didn't have to go back to the townspeople. Because when the townspeople voted to go to a paid ambulance service and devise that funds, the one thing they wanted was not to hear us coming back for capital needs. We've been able to do that so far, but it's not looking good for the future.
I'm gonna ask a simple question. Simply like the chief of police, since you're both strong chiefs, would you like just a number and you cut it if we have to go that route?
That's the only way you can do it, because line by line it won't work. There are lines that work with other lines that you just can't see that they work together. So that's really the only way we can do. And unfortunately, just like the police department, any major cuts have to be personnel. We don't have enough. We've already taken a big hit, and to go after the small stuff is low-hanging fruit that won't amount to much. And anything we do for personnel puts a burden on the service and the people that are already in there. And to maintain keeping the ambulance running and keeping our certification. It's going to be harder and harder with less people to do it. Our on-call staff is just not as active as it was in years prior, and getting them to come out on a regular basis is very difficult.
I have a question, but it's not really for you, Chief. It's really for Amber, the accountant, about that ambulance receipt account. Can you tell us a little bit about the account and where you see how you're forecasting it, looking at? On how we put those two jobs into it?
So Chief Dickey and I did look at the ambulance receipts reserved last week, and I believe with the additional 33,000 we brought in for July, it was around 250,000. Now, as Chief Dickey said, with losing revenue, if we only bring in $500,000 this year, that puts it at, what did I say, 500 plus 250? That puts it at 750. You already have 707,000 in this year's budget coming out of there. So even if you didn't have contractual increases, you would hopefully barely end up with enough to cover that, never mind any capital. But we all know there's contractual increases in the fire CBA. So,
707 this year, though, was some capital.
right,
We were sitting, before July payments coming in, we were sitting at a positive of 219.
Okay.
Sitting in there. Then that brought us up to right around the 250 because we brought in roughly $33,000 for July. But that's money, in my mind, I look at that as money going towards next fiscal year.
Okay.
So.
the other thing it's important for everyone to keep in mind as far as the ambulance receipts reserved is you can only make an appropriation out of there based on money that's actually in hand. I know when we were looking in the spring for the FY27 budget, there was discussion about appropriating more than the 707,000. And I politely said that if the money is not in there at town meeting, you cannot appropriate it. And I don't want to have to be the bad guy and stand up on a town meeting floor and say, you can't do this. So please don't make me.
Chair.
Yes.
Chief, in May of 2025, the annual town meeting, the town approved the expenditure and transfer of the funds for the ambulance to the tune of $450,000. Was that money encumbered?
Well, the new ambulance, yes, that money is set aside for them.
So it was encumbered. Why was the ambulance not ordered at that time?
It was ordered at that time, and I even had a chassis available to me at that time, and it's still that long of getting put in line for the build. Any other manufacturer, we wouldn't have a chassis, and it would have been probably a 3-year wait.
Okay, and then a follow-up to that, the cardiac monitors, I remember late summer into the fall, just prior to capital, there was a discussion on that. And we were, unless I misunderstood you, I was of the understanding that the life packs were at the end of service life then. Capital had made a recommendation that we put that forward, and you said you had the money in ambulance reserve receipts at that time.
Yep.
But I don't recall that being on this last year's annual town meeting.
So
It did it unravel and
what happened with the new leadership in town hall, a little bit of miscommunication on getting something on the warrant, but there actually was part of the budget for one of the cardiac monitors was able to make it on for that.
So I know there's lead time, training, certifications, a whole bunch of pieces that have to fall into place. Thank you.
Just one comment on the 450,000. So that sits under the ambulance receipts reserved as a special article, the same way the articles do in the general fund. So it doesn't have to be encumbered because it carries over until either the project is complete or the department, for whatever reason, can't move forward with it. And then anything left over will roll back into the general funds for the ambulance receipts reserved.
Thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure we weren't double counting it.
So will there be a surplus ambulance? Like, is this an additional ambulance to the one that we have, or is it?
No, we'll be taking one out of service.
I'm good with Amber. She doesn't want to be in the hot seat, I can tell.
Thank you both.
Hey, so outside of looking for 1.1 million, the way to get that is salary and benefits. To get that far, out of the larger departments, that would be fire, the police, and the highway building and grounds. It'll pretty much be no one in those departments, or there'll be one or two.
I know Chris is new, but are we gonna
There
hear
you
from,
go.
does he have anything input?
Yeah, every nickel counts, but I just don't know how we can squeeze another $1 million out of the budget without losing everyone and then really collapsing. And the deeper into the fiscal year that you go, the less money you have to cut. You have to go. If you cut people, you would have to cut more people. And then it gets harder and harder to do. If we were to as it was.
You have a hand up?
Yes.
I would like to hear from Chris if he has anything. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
So
The new gentleman, I don't know if he's gone, if he needs to go through his budget yet.
as soon as a special election could happen would be 35 days from this evening? Or you would need more?
5 days before, would actually
Right.
yeah.
35 days.
I just wanted to add something as far as your discussions on overrides and the further into the year you go. You also need to keep in mind that we need to get bills out by January 1st, or that can create a serious cash flow issue. So keeping in mind that we can't set the tax rate until all this is resolved. They will not set our tax rate if our budget is not balanced. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that.
Okay.
They have to be in the mail before January 1st.
Which means that we need to submit to the state no later than at least the week before Thanksgiving. If that, I mean, we cut it pretty close last year.
Right. The further you get into November and December trying to set your tax rate, the further DLS has 351 other communities trying to, or 350, I guess, other communities trying to set theirs. And it is the holiday season. They do have vacations as well. Not to mention Cheryl needs to the stuff to her billing company to get them in the mail. Justice has his things that he needs to do as well. So I just wanted everyone to keep in mind the timing issue, and that if we do not get bills out by January 1st, that can create a serious cash flow issue.
Because
They won't have to.
if
pay
it's,
them.
they don't receive their tax bills by January 1, they are not obligated to pay until May.
Quarter installment.
I believe it's in May. And if you don't have the cash, then the only alternative is unless you lay everybody off or take out a ban, which costs you more money.
Right. I mean, obviously there are ways to
But
float the
if-
town money, but it becomes harder and costs more and
if-
will make
yeah.
things exponentially worse.
If you're already behind in your credit card payments, you don't go grab another one and charge more. And in this, to your point, November, December, 350 cities, other cities and towns, 112, 114 school districts, some special district.
Right.
They're all, you just get to the bottom of the pile.
Right. And some of you may or may not be aware, but DLS was in here last week. They are trying to make a push with cities and towns to get things done sooner. They're coming out, they're walking through with you, making sure you know what you're doing. They were excited that we had as much in. I thought we were supposed to have everything in, so I guess being the overachiever pays off once in a while. But they were happy that we had as much in as we could. We do have a few things we need to finish up, but obviously the assessing department can't do their stuff yet. But theoretically, once theirs is done, we could move forward, except we don't have a balanced budget.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Question. So we've heard the soonest we can get a, ballot question available would be 35 days from tomorrow. That would give us roughly the middle of September.
September 15th.
13th, middle of September. That would work for your schedules, if I'm not mistaken, as far as getting a number so that you all could do your job, so we could get the tax rate set.
We can enter it technically until it passes town meeting as well. It is not official. Because town meeting is the one that sets the appropriation. The ballot is just approving the override. So if you have the election in September, but then your town meeting isn't until whatever
21st.
date in October, the 21st. I believe the tax rate hearing was set before that or after that?
26th.
Is the 26th? Okay,
Okay. So he would know, they would know.
right.
What-
So if town meeting approves it as of the 21st, Carol can enter the votes. The tax hearing will be the 26th, and then theoretically, if everything aligns, we should be able to submit it end of October, beginning of November, and it shouldn't be an issue.
But if it fails at either or.
If it fails, we're now in
need-
September and we're further
balanced
along in the
budget
year.
Number.
So.
We need the
and-
cuts to know what the cuts would be.
So then we would have what I'll call two nuclear options. Decimate departments or can't believe I'm even gonna say this, but it's got a gun to your head. There is the general stabilization fund and free cash. If you
What
can,
happens if we touch that?
Same.
I'm just saying that's a nuclear option too.
They are options. You can touch them. They do require town meeting vote. So if the override fails, at least you know and you can prepare those articles to be on town
Yeah.
meeting.
All it would do is buy us this year. Versus tax bills not going out and it just snowballs.
Nope, I agree.
That's why I, it's a nuclear option. I don't even want to think, but. So we would have 35 days starting tomorrow to. If the board votes to schedule that, we need to decide on amount tonight. The the questions, and that would be towards the end of the first quarter. And then we would have to put together the articles for the town meeting on what we have. The only advantage we have now versus what we did in May, or when we started in March, was we have a couple of weeks with to push the information out, and reality has sunk in, I believe, to residents that pay attention. The reality has sunk in. I don't know if it's sunk in with the people who are cheering, but it's gonna sink in one way or another. It's either gonna be 1, 2, and the highway and the little chunks that we cut out to get to 1.1, or it's going to be an override, or it's going to be a combination of the three: stabilization, free cash, budget cuts, and so. But glad you don't have to make that call.
Nope.
Thank you, Amber, for that reminder.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
So, Mr. Administrator,
Yes, sir.
your thoughts, ideas for busting out the big scissors?
If the board would like, I can bring you back a plan that would show you what it would take to get to that number, but it's gonna, obviously be a lot of personnel cuts and an absurd amount of personnel cuts. You're looking at massive service cuts. But like you said, if you did decide you're gonna go for an override of some kind, you would still need to explain to the public why we're asking for it. So you still kind of need to at least go through some of that exercise.
Not an exercise.
Huh?
We need to make the cuts. Can't just go for an override. We have to have a plan, because if everything fails, we're spending money right now that we shouldn't be spending. So this is literally rolling the dice, that if it fails, then we currently are spending money.
We'd have a default.
Right.
I think right now we should consider,
We have to do both. Maybe.
but I think we also need to consider a hiring freeze with the exception of the police department. Non-mandated training across the board, maybe that could be renegotiated with the contracts. Tighten vehicle use policy, prevent them from leaving town. Surplus any additional vehicles that are not in use, because of the shortage. Staff, few ideas.
So, just, on personnel cuts with, the most personnel and the larger salaries are, fire right off the top of my head is about 100,000 per employee. That's their salaries and their benefits and their CBA. The police is about 122 with salaries and benefits and CBA. I can also take into account overtime, but highway is about the same as the police, about 100,000 per person. So that's 9 or 10 people. And there's not 9 or 10 people in either one of those three departments. It's not much more than 9, all three right now. 6, 5, 7. Yeah. That would get us to 1.1, but you'd lose all of those and maybe fiscal 29 or 30, somebody might want to come work in Templeton, take a chance. I'm smiling, but it's not, I mean, that's town hall, I believe you cut people in town hall, their hours down, they will not stay. And we have, I personally, and I'm not blowing smoke because I don't do that, but personally, I believe we lucked out with an accountant because we tried one way and that did not work for a couple of reasons. And we got an accountant who took the certification test and passed on the first try. There are towns out there looking for accountants. They'll pay 140, 150 more. So we have someone in the treasurer collector's office, the assistant. She just got certified as a collector. She's pretty close to being certified as a treasurer. She can go. I mean, just and then things come to all stuff. We are spending money. And the deeper you go into the budget season, first quarter, second quarter, it gets harder because you have to cut more because you have less to work with. So there is an override, there is cut personnel, there is free cash stabilization fund, all three. None of them fun. So,
Mr. Chair, Mr. May has something, maybe?
yes,
Do we know how much we have in free cash and stabilization right now? Like currently? Because I think if you're gonna put some sort of question on there, we already saw the override didn't pass. Right, so unless we have the people that have a change of heart that voted for the higher school budget that come in and vote for whatever override you put on the table. I think you need to have that alternate question on there to transfer that money, so you don't have to wait until fall town meeting to move that money, so we can move that money now and try to have the least amount of impact it cuts then.
But
We can't do
like the
that.
police chief was stating earlier, though, those are one-time funds. That's just gonna get us through this year.
Right, but
It's not gonna solve our problems.
But it sounds like right now, we're not gonna get through this year for anyone, right? There's not one person in this room right now that feels like we're gonna have a
No.
good time for the rest of this fiscal
I
year.
don't think we can legally put a question like that on the ballot. If we were to do an override, can we?
Doesn't that have to still go to town meeting?
The
Well,
clerk
the
is
only
shaking her head no.
thing that does not require town meeting is to lay people off.
Yeah.
All the other ones, you have to go to town meeting. And general stabilization, that's taking money out. They have to vote to do that. It's just like they appropriate free cash. We have to go to town meeting.
What would be the process to do a
If
special
you-
town
you
meeting
know,
now?
And one year we did something, we asked town meeting was asked to give the selectmen the authority to reduce appropriations to cover the school budget. And when it came time to file the tax recap sheet, that's when the DOR said, what the heck? And they said, we're not going to negate this, but you have to agree to sign. The chair and the administrator had to agree to sign a letter that guaranteed there would be an article on the annual town meeting to ask town meeting to appropriate the amount of money that was moved outside of town meeting. You can't change appropriations other than at the end of the year to balance the budget, but in the middle of the year, can't do it. So the only thing that does not require a town meeting is to lay people off. Other than that, we're dependent on town meeting. Same as the election. So, Mr. May?
I just wanted to see if I could clarify something. You were speaking about, the cutting and so forth and what each person is, their allotment. And mentioned with the chief that there was 122. About, my question is, is 122 for a new officer? Or because we're getting deeper into the, the list, would we be increasing that number? Because more experienced officers are paid higher than the initial.
You could possibly see an increase to the 122. Some of that as we said, some of that 122 is benefits that the town will realize on pensions and health insurance.
And Mr. May, if I may, whatever cuts are decided by the board, we would have to go back and find the exact number. And so if the board said, okay, look at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we would have to bring back to you what that adds up to, because as you know, this is about as sliced to the bone as possible. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I do have a comment. Bear in mind, we are required by law to have a fire department and a police department. We're also required for any citizen inside the Commonwealth or outside the Commonwealth to have roads, even though we don't get the funds to keep them passable and safe, but to do our damnedest to provide roads that are passable and safe. So as we're having this discussion, how do we cut and decimate these departments and still maintain the obligations that are thrust upon us that are unfunded mandates? And I sit here trying to balance this. And we heard multiple times in multiple meetings, how do we balance? It's just like saying the school versus the town budgets, and the two do not connect. Other than the fact they're all funded by the taxpayers and ultimately the town's general fund. And I will end my little mantra very quickly. This year, the original proposed budget was 26.66% above what it was for FY26. What was approved last week was a little over 13%. Folks, we can cap that at 2.5% by law, because it's a regional school district. They can ask for whatever they want. We can pump the brakes and we can hold them at 2.5%. Please don't ever forget that. And I'm saying that, you can take that to the bank. I've already confirmed that with town council. That is our only holdout. If they were a town department, we would not have this kind of a discussion, because they would be bound by Prop 2.5, just like each and every department sitting here.
How do we change this?
We don't, because they're a regional school district. They fall under a totally different set of laws. This is why I've been screaming since February. The district and the town don't mesh. Other than that, we could try writing the DESI, but if anybody's ever attempted to deal with DESI, I know the chair has, I know you have.
That's the only option, because this is never gonna change.
They don't want to touch it.
No.
5 years down, we're gonna be the same situation.
We
So
have,
I'm a taxpayer to the school. That's what I am. I'm gonna work for the school.
Yes, it does.
we are a customer to the school. There are over 200 school districts out of the 351 cities and towns that are in trouble this year. And we all know where the challenges come from.
So
We're not the only ones.
the town does have one other option. It's long ball, and it's not gonna take care of the 1.1 million. But because the town, and I wish this would have came out before it did, it was in July, late July 2020, this year. Because the town, Templeton, used free cash to supplement, to help cover the cost of the regional school budget last year in fiscal 26. We can apply, and town council recommended that we do. It's fuzzy, but can apply for a waiver. You have to do it before October 1st. To lower our minimum required contribution by the amount of free cash that we used to help cover the school budget last year. And I believe it was 167,000. So it's not gonna move the needle. We only have to do 1 million instead. But, it's a long shot, but you don't get if you don't ask. So that's an option that we have. I want to put that on the agenda for, next meeting for a vote on that to apply for it. Again, it's a long shot and it doesn't take care of the million, but it's an option. It's something to try. It'd be a little easier if the school budget hadn't already been appropriated, but again, this didn't pop up with me until end of July. And the last time they kicked it out was 2022, I think. So I wish it would have popped up sooner. It would have been an easier case to make, but we have the case to make, and I think we should do it. Just
helps.
maybe in this year, with most of the overrides is about paying schools, as well as towns. And it doesn't seem to matter how financially stable, how big a business district you've got, everybody, 74 towns. But that is something worth trying. So, Ms. May,
I would have liked to have heard from the Department of Public Services if, Chris, our new, director had anything to give, because he did, not to give, but to anything if he got a chance to look at his budget yet or say anything. I mean, he's been sitting here all night long and we didn't ask him any questions or have him put any input. I just didn't know if he had anything. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I understand. He just started on the 3rd, but.
and on the plus side of the highways, there's a snow and ice supplemental that the town can put in for. It gets set aside, and that one would help us in, that's a chunk of money we wouldn't have to look for at the end of the year, because the amount of money that we appropriate each year for snow and ice has been short. Average for the past 5 years, no less than 150,000. So that's, again, it's been covered by free cash, which is the sticking point. But we always have to look for that money at the end of the year to cover to other things. The trick is to bump that up. So this year we may have a little help. It's a 1 year thing. It's because of the big snowstorm we had a few months back. It's a little thing, but if we use free cash to help out the budget this year, hopefully that would cover shortfalls at the end of the year, because that's another thing that if you don't have the money to pay for it, DOR will take care of it for you. And we have to appropriate at least as much as we did the previous year. Otherwise, the deficit spending goes out the window when you get in more trouble. So I'll ask the board now a question, get it out of the way. An override. In favor of asking for a second time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to put it out. I mean, we're either gonna decimate the community here, or we're gonna give them the override and hopefully be able to give them the choice to save it. Because I think once the taxpayers see what the results of our present situation are, I think we're gonna change some minds, because I don't think they're gonna like it.
That's great.
I don't think an override is gonna pass. I mean, you have to ask the question because lots of people have said they would, like I said before, some people want the question asked and the ability to vote on it, and some people, you know, so you put it forth, but I am not a fan of doing an override question without the actual budget cuts to know where we're gonna cut if this thing fails. I will not, I cannot get behind an override without to know a number to get to that number. I don't like the fact that we're currently spending and we don't have the money to back it. And again, I'm worried about us being able to set a tax rate coming in next year, all of that. So I would like to have a number of what needs to be cut if this override fails. That way the public can understand what the consequences on the override failing. You have to give them the information. So it's irresponsible of us not to actually cut things tonight or, you know, to go into an override without the information to go out there, because it just looks like we're asking for a blank check. Or to cover the bill of the school. Then it's just gonna be higher next year, so.
So are you in favor of proposing an override question to the residents or not?
No, without the actual budget cuts.
Ms. Culver?
I think that we really ought to consider a special meeting, so that we can propose budget cuts by James. I think if we're gonna go for an override, we really need to come up with an educational piece for the public, so that they're very well aware of where that money is going to be spent. I think that we need to project at least 3 years out. And then in the meantime, I really think that people need to continue to advocate to our state representatives in the state house in regards to the shortage. But yes, I would be in favor of an override, but again, I think we need to make it very loud and clear as to where those funds are going.
Mr. Toth? Your thoughts?
Yep, following our select board operating policy manual, anytime we bring something up, we discuss it and we don't actually take action until it's on a second meeting. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I would be in favor of putting an override forward. But as a couple of the board members have stated, we need to kind of have an idea. We get some very valuable input from all the department heads. I appreciate each and every one of them for the information they provided us tonight. Thank you all. We have a lot of decisions to look at. We have the information that we were provided late this evening that I need to go bump up against the budget book that I have, because I did notice some discrepancies and disparities. So I'm not prepared to sit here and say this or that. Yes, I think it needs to go forward and we need to let the voters decide.
So if we go forward with an override, the next thing would be the amount and the question. Some people I've heard at the district meeting, they said it was confusing with a multiple question, which I'm not sure. That way, the instructions were pretty. We had a 2-question override, one for 1 million, 2 million, and one for 4 million. The 4 million got the most yes votes. It was still a pretty good margin. We originally asked back in May, the instructions were question 1A and 1B are separate questions. You may vote for or against each question independently. Each question requires a majority of those voting on that question to pass. If more than one question passes, the question with the highest dollar amount will prevail. We had a $2 million and a $4 million question. The $2 million question got 416 yes votes, 1,094 no votes. The $4 million override got 284 yes votes, 1,214 no votes. So one thing we did not have when we did that approach was time. We really didn't even have a week or two because we were every other week. It seemed like we were going through the budget, making cuts. So this time, if we vote to do an override, the thing would be, the question is either a general question or a question where you can tell, let's see. Town meeting and on the ballot, you can tell people need a better follow system. What you're going to for 2018, the question for an override would be, shall the town of Templeton be allowed to assess an additional $470,246 in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of protecting public safety, including the provision of fire services, advanced life support, ambulance service, additional training of police officers beyond state minimums, community notification system, supplemental funding of the highway and snow and ice budgets, and association cost of insurance and benefit programs. You can do that, or you can actually list a total amount and then where would it go? Like $1 million for the school. Just making up numbers here. $400,000 for the police department to retain, officers. 400,000 for the fire department, X amount of dollars for the highway. We could do it like that. And then when you go to town meeting for the appropriation, you actually list, the article would list, like this one did in 2018, fire EMS. It listed the amount of $290,740. And you just show where each amount is going, because town meeting has to appropriate the money. They can always go, yeah, we voted for the override, but we're not going to appropriate the money for this, that, or the other thing. It's town meeting's choice. So Jen, we're in consensus of doing an override. Anyone prepared to vote on that this evening?
I would like to have a meeting this week, another meeting.
Out of sequence?
Yes, to go to, so we know exactly what the number is we're asking. I don't want to just do an override number on a number. I would like to know what that number should be. I think it's irresponsible to take a vote on an override tonight, and I'm available, so I just checked. I'm available Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, on Friday I have a dentist appointment, so. Sorry. And whenever we can legally have another meeting. I'm available in the morning.
Mr. Toth?
I'm not sure this week gives the town administrator enough time to put a proposal together or give us enough time to review everything. He's shaking his head, yes.
It does. He says yes.
Thank you, Mr. Toth.
I mean, let's be realistic.
Right, oh, no.
The other thing I just mentioned to the board is that Thursday night I have that school committee meeting I have to attend to be the municipal representative. So Thursday night, that's where I'll be. But obviously I'm free during the day on Thursday. But Monday would be better to hold this meeting. It gives us more time to accurately put the information together, because it's not just you're determining, who to cut. It's okay, what order do we have to lay people off? In the unions, it's usually last in, first out. So there's information that I have to look up in regards to that. There's pension amounts, there's particular benefits as it relates to individual employees. So someone might be on a family plan versus a single. And then it's adding in an estimate for unemployment costs. So you lay these people off, they file on you, that has to be added in. So it takes some time to do this.
How much time would you need?
We could, Monday would be good. If we had a meeting Monday night, that'd be
17
fine. Yeah.
Is, I mean, I prefer the whole board, but we need 3 minimum.
I'm
I'll
available.
be here. I'm available.
What's that, the 17th?
Yes.
Yes, I have nothing on it.
I'm available, but in the interim, can we do some tightening?
I'm going on vacation. I'll come back next May.
I also need some guidance from the board as well. If you'd like me to put a plan together, I need to know what is off, if there's anything that's off limits or what you'd prefer. So any sort of guidance would be helpful. That way I don't bring you something that you hate.
Do you want us to send, I mean, because some of us would like to look at all the numbers
No,
in the
discussion
next few
now.
days.
The discussion now, so I have a consensus from the board. Getting,
Well,
5 different emails with 5 different opinions doesn't help me.
Anything above and beyond what the library and the senior center already did, cutting town hall staff to part-time is a no.
yeah, that's a no. No hiring jobs that we currently don't have filled is a yes for me.
Okay. So the hiring freeze with the exception of the police.
I'd like the exception of the assistant town clerk as well.
Did you already hire?
No, we're out hiring.
We're advertising.
How will this affect you? Can you tell us?
I have possibly 3 elections this year to be able to operate my office.
Can you come in the microphone so that they can hear you? Thank you. The residents.
Thank you for coming. We'll be chatting.
I have potentially 3 elections this year with vote by mail. My stacks are incredible already. Keeping my office open for all the residents. I mean, I've been town clerk for over almost 23 years. So I have over 5 weeks vacation, sick time, personal time, so.
Then how much of, I mean, I don't have them. How much roughly is the assistant, is the ad out for, you know?
So her yearly salary was 19.
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with that. I mean, I understand. It's a big election. I totally understand what you're saying. I just can't see you pulling it off without any staff.
Right.
I mean, I don't see it. Okay.
Chair.
Yes,
You have a hand.
Amber. You want it?
I just wanted to clarify one thing, as I believe we currently have in-house, I will call it a handful of hirees for Parks and Rec, which is outside of the general fund currently. So I just wanted to make sure there was a clear understanding of where that stands, since it's not really in this budget conversation, but you are putting out a thing to not hire anyone. Just wanted to throw it out there. I believe they're the only ones that
That are-
specifically hire people outside of the
Well,
general.
the also would be the clerk with her poll workers too. They're seasonal.
Right, but they're
Oh, it's
in
not
the general fund.
Okay, okay.
Park and Rec is the only one.
Outside.
They've already spent
So
all
an
the
exemption
money
for
they were
them as
given,
well.
so.
I have EMS people as well that are outside of the general fund.
Okay. So outside of the general fund would be fine with me. I don't know about anybody else.
I just wanted to throw that out there because I do know we have soccer season. I believe it's coming up and there are a bunch in-house currently, and I don't know where they stand in their hiring process.
Okay. Mr. McClure?
Thank you, Emma.
So our stipend staff has already been hired and paid. So any staff that gets hired on for basketball, soccer going forward would come out of the revolving account anyway. Because we don't have a budget.
Right, but if they put a freeze, it's a freeze.
It's a freeze in
So
general.
That's why I wanted to make sure they were aware.
So we're gonna do a freeze outside of the general fund.
So we'd have to have a freeze on a general fund
And not,
hires.
yeah, and because the chief just said too, he has some outside the general fund as well.
And then, is there any way that you can pull in the unions and have discussion in regards to non-mandated training across the board?
Non-mandated training. Well, I think the only training that the unions go to is the mandated, like firing ranges and whatnot. The chief has some training that's contractual. So I think that's it.
Can we talk about it in detail?
What do you mean?
Their contractual trading, can we renegotiate?
No, I don't think there is contractual training in the police and fire contracts. I think the training that is in there is post mandated training and training to maintain like the EMT certs.
Okay. And then,
But I'll just note that any question or any idea that is bringing the unions in and asking them to open up their contract mid-year, they don't have to do that.
Yep.
And I don't see why they would.
it would be foolish of us not to ask at this point.
I'm confident that they would not, is what I'm telling you. Very confident.
Well, both chiefs have told us that they just would like a number and then they will run their department as they see it fit. So we just need a number. Not really, yeah. Unfortunately. If we get an override and it passes, then all this will be mute, but it has to happen.
James?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. When you're putting together your list, could you put together, a list? Oh God, I'm losing my mind right now. Sorry. I'll come back to you.
Oh, I got one.
It just,
Buildings. The management building was on the block of, was it last year or the year before? What would that be like? It's like $7,000.
emergency management.
Emergency management building, yes. Like, does it have to have all that full heat in it if nobody's actually they using it on a regular basis?
I think that was asked at the Saturday budget meeting or one of the meetings
Okay.
thereafter, and the answer was yes. But look, if in the process of doing this work, I get within shooting distance, then yeah, I'll go after, 1,000 here, 500 there.
Yeah.
Assistance, I mean,
I'm going to throw this out there. Can you, layoffs, police, fire, highway, two per department, three per department, and give us the increased cost of the unemployment, the corresponding, because, you can cut people here and save some money, but we're gonna have to account
Right.
for whatever it's gonna go up.
Yeah, it adds back in, yeah.
Because it's not gonna stay, level.
Right. Correct.
There'll be a trade-off.
Yep. So
what that is.
you want a couple of projections, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to say not to take everything out of our funds, but to possibly also use in the scenario to take a small portion of money, nothing crazy, to help supplement for some, maybe you can't get to the million plus, to be able to do that too. To see that scenario as well. and what that would affect us, I would think would be a good, something important that the residents might want us to do and look at.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Remembered what I was gonna ask.
go ahead.
James,
Yep.
Could you put together a package that will show us what the additional deficit will be if we don't cut employees before, let's say, the end of September?
Well, so yeah, when I do this, it'll be based off of a start date. So, I guess that start date would have to be after the fall town meeting. Because if we're gonna go for an override and then we have the town meeting, it'll be whichever one comes out later, the overrides last time, because we're not gonna lay people off until we know until we know we're not gonna get the money.
Well, that's my concern, because how much are we going to be adding to the amount we need in that process?
Okay,
And if we don't get it, how does that negatively affect us from there on? Because it would.
Cut more employees or more
Yeah.
things.
If you're cutting more employees,
Because the money pool shrinks.
right?
so you're saying you want one projection that shows like a start date of like September 1st, and then one that shows the start date right after town meeting? Or are you just saying right after town meeting, that's what I'm doing this projection on?
No, I'm kind of saying sometime in the next couple of weeks. If we, let's say, cut individuals anticipating, not relying on an override.
So you're
Yeah.
saying like in a cut, like if we started,
Because I'm not into gambling.
so you're saying if we started the cuts in a couple of weeks, what would that look like?
Yeah,
Okay,
compared to what it would be in September 30th.
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again?
Compared to what it would be in
September.
September 30th, on September 30th.
Okay, the question is,
Or
all
October
Yeah.
21st, whatever the date you want to pick.
right, the question is,
Also want to recommend that you use Jill to help you with some of this research too.
well, Amber's gonna be involved with that.
Amber's
Sorry,
going away to her class.
So I guess what would,
She's out of the office.
oh, great,
Yeah, that's why I said you might want to use.
great
Jill.
timing.
And Nancy.
I guess the question would be, what would be the purpose of knowing, I guess, 2 weeks from now, what that number is? Because I don't think the board would want to lay off all those people prior to knowing, even though, yeah, it's gonna cost us more after, but if we lay all those people off, they're not gonna come back.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You don't want to ruin the services before you have to.
If you lay the people off now and an override passes, you ain't getting most of those people back. They will already, they'll say, see ya. I know the consequences of doing that and the override, failing, but we have to roll the dice because
Yeah.
the override could pass and you'll still be with no people because there are other towns that are hiring and they're gonna go. They're gonna go. A few would come back. They'll be, like me, still another contractor, but most of them, I would bet they will not be available.
I have an outside of the box question. I would like to know, is it possible to open our warrant or earlier and push our town meeting up earlier?
What we need to do, well, it's a special town meeting, so it has to be open for, it's like 28 days.
No,
So we're opening it early
sorry.
for that purpose. I think it's
It's in August, another week.
The Board of Assessors is that?
it's either our next meeting or the meeting after that. We agreed we were gonna open it and close it.
No, I mean, we'll get values and we'll get values set early September, so that should be. And that'll, new growth and all that will be approved with it, because that's how the state usually does that, so we should be, whatever date you wanna choose in October, that's.
I'd just like to reiterate the point that if we go as we are now, staffed as we are now, until October 21st, which is basically the end of October, we are probably going to be increasing that $1.1 million to something closer to 1.45.
Yeah.
It's about 100,000 a month. Because we need to cut 1.1 million. So just do simple math, 100,000 per month gives you 1.2 million for the year. So if we wait until October 1st, say, or even the end of October, it's 300,000. That's gonna be additional costs.
Additional costs if it fails.
The simple way to put it is that you have to cut the same amount of.
October 7th.
That's the simple way to put it.
The clerk is saying October 7th, we could change it to.
General fund. I mean, that's like a cash flow thing. It doesn't, it's not, this budget and cash flow is different.
Did everybody hear that the clerk said that we could go October 7th?
That's a decision for the board. So can I go back? Cause I'm trying to just get some direction, cause there's been some comments made by, some of the select board members. I don't know what the rest of the board is thinking for direction here. So I know, there's a comment made, okay, a couple different options. All right, I can do that. But there's comment made about don't touch or don't move town hall to part-time, and don't touch the senior center or library any more than what Jackie was offering.
The same thing with the Department of Services with what she offered.
Yeah, so library, senior center. But what is the exact wish of when it relates to town hall? So
They're moneymakers.
Yeah.
in what sense?
Elections.
Right. So a couple of good points. So you have a few contracted employees and elected official. So myself, Cheryl, and Carol have to stay. So,
Oh.
but everyone else, huh?
Are you considered essential?
No, I have a contract that you agreed
Oh.
to fund. So, and so does Cheryl, and Carol's an elected official, so.
And we can't, without the revenue bringer in, and then the treasurer collector collecting, and without Amber doesn't have a contract, so.
Statutorily required to have an accountant regardless.
Here's, yeah, all these things, they're essential workers. I mean, I just watched a meeting like a while back, and I've talked about this many times. Essential workers, are the people that tell you your benefits, that are bringing in your money, they're your collectors. I mean, the top tier, your assessors, your treasurer collector, your accountant, without them, the town don't work.
So I don't disagree at any of that.
Well, it's a fact.
That's why I don't disagree. All right, so
They can't do their job. I mean,
zero cuts to town halls. That's what the board is asking me. If the whole board agrees with that, I will tell you that there will be difficulty balancing. Because there's a lot of benefited full-time people here.
there isn't. Like, where are you getting all these supposed people?
Most of the people in here have benefits. That is a giant cost to the town.
Yeah, department heads, the people that are running.
Now, anybody over 20 hours is eligible for benefits. That's
Right.
retirement and health insurance. And the two outside of, in the general fund is salary and the benefits. That's your biggest cost is right there.
And if you cut your accountant down to part-time, your accountant's going. If you're in all the other jobs that are full-time that aren't got contracts, and you cut them to part-time, they're going. And now you have no money coming in because you ain't gonna be able to, like, when we had no one in our office, the town still ran. We all know this. We had nobody in our office for a period of time, and the town still ran fine. Those people, if any of them went, we had difficulty when we just had Nancy trying to cut, and all the work that Amber did to play catch up because we didn't have the accountant ability. I mean, even Melody, when she came in, she had to play catch up with the time that Kelly was out. We cannot afford cutting them part-time. So yeah, they're off the table. And their assistants, they can't do their jobs without having the work. I mean, Nancy does all the payroll. And Amber's going to class right now to learn payroll. So how's that supposed to work? And the benefits and stuff. I mean, You just can't do it, Danielle, you know, she's the person, I mean, another year or two, you got Cheryl, you know, eligible for, to retire.
Okay, so for Monday.
Yep.
Can you have a table or a layout of police, fire, and highway, 2 additions to each, and 3 additional layoffs for each, and the corresponding value that would bring,
Sure.
as well as the increase of the unemployment cost or any other things. Second of all, the use of, don't say it,
You gotta say,
general stabilization and free cash money. And the third one is an override with amounts. $1 million does us no good, really.
what, like the chief said, the chief had a good idea,
Yeah,
the chief of police.
10% above FY 27 budget for each year thereafter.
Well, you said off the original, that would be.
Yeah, the 2027 past budget.
The original budget before we cut,
That's,
Well, you cut it.
which
What we
was
asked for, about 10.
third, I think it was 13 or
that'd be a much bigger number than the deficit you're trying to.
Right. Right,
I would,
But it's covering us for years, well, a couple of years out, not just.
Until the next school budget.
I know, but when we,
It's when we say no.
yeah. Well,
well,
I think we tried a menu last time and I don't know if it got confusing or what, but
yeah, one
either way
number,
it failed. My suggestion would be to keep it simple. have
One number.
And I think, you know, I think what you want to do
a
is.
single, excuse me, a single question.
yes, please.
But there's different ways to do a single question.
I would just do a single question and then the data that we provide to go with it will explain where all the money's going.
Yes,
The
please.
number is the question. And what I would suggest is the deficit plus whatever amount it is required to get the midnight shift back. And so just keep it to what we need.
Right, and so have those 3, and feel like a teacher giving you homework, but payback. Also a schedule for and an approach for informational meetings. I think we should have at least
As many as possible.
Yes,
like a board meeting, except it was just we're doing an override. This is why, the ABCs of it. You know, the amount, the reasons behind it, and if it fails, what this means.
Yep. What the main thing with the communication part will be for us to settle
What
what the
we-
cuts look like.
We don't have months, but we do have a little bit
fast.
time that we didn't
Right.
have back then. So if you could include that, so that'd be, I got four items for that meeting for you to have.
You should have the meetings and a couple of different timeframes for people that.
Well, that's why I'm asking him to make up the schedule,
warning
and
for
then
people that-
we can fine tune it at the meeting. Give us some options, and then we can go with that.
All right, so happy to do this. If I'm not touching this building and, you know, Jackie offered, you know, what she offered, so just that, I won't be able to get to the 1.1. So that means when I come to you next, I'll have part of a plan. But if we're gonna do this communication part, we eventually have to explain to them what it looks like.
We will have to include those as possibilities if this fails, A to Z.
Right. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
asking you.
Right, yes, we would,
I did have a couple of suggestions, additional cuts. One would be the assistant assessor. Your assistant. That would be one, and then, TCT or personnel also.
So their budget is within their enterprise fund. So, am I doing what it takes to come up with the 1.1? Or am I am I not touching town hall and whatever, just going with that? Because I don't think I'll ever get to the 1.1, so then, you'll have to decide either we tell the people it's gonna be worse than this, or we actually, show what that looks like and show them every,
Right.
what 1.1 looks like.
Cuts to the fire, police and highway will get the 1.1, and I think that'd be
Well,
bad enough.
yeah, I mean, if I lay off everyone in those departments, you'd get close.
I
But
mean, at an informational meeting, we can also just, point out if you do the seniors and you do this, this is what it equates to. Again, we did cuts to the general fund budget, but I don't think people really visualized, well, they're all set. But now the school budget, we got to pay that. So this is how we're going to make up that money. And when they see the consequences of that vote on the 4th, I think it's going to be a clearer picture to the voters where what's what. I mean, if they don't get it then they're not going to get it,
On last Monday. They should have got it last month, but they didn't.
no. But they will get it now.
Yeah, James, the ones that they offered up is only it's $80,000
So
with the senior center, the library, what the Department of Services offered up, and the few little bit of monies, you're talking $80,000.
And this also gives the department heads an opportunity to go back and look at their budgets, the ones who didn't present anything. Are there any line items that you can cut from to save your employees? Let's talk about it.
Mr. Chairman.
yes.
So just only because I want to clarify this in case anything happens, one of your board members did just suggest cutting my administrative assistant in the office. Is that something that is on the table that the board is the board's going to ask the town administrator to do? Or, is that, I just want to know one way or the other, in order to communicate with my staff. Because just keep in mind that our office is only staffed with me full-time, and then my administrative assistant is part-time, and that's about. Well, she's at, the total amount in her line item is about 19,000, but you've already spent some due to the fiscal year starting, so it's less than that now. So I don't know what, I just want to clarify that with the board.
Yep.
I'm not suggesting it, I'm just saying, since one of your members has mentioned it for my department, I would just like clarification.
Well, I clearly can't.
I just went one line at a time through everybody's budget. And that was the one that I could justify. Are we going to take into consideration? I think we have to.
I think too much is from the police and fire, and that's lives on the line here. To ask just those areas in the DPW seems like.
Yeah, I wanna see TCTV, I wanna see,
They're not in our budget.
I get that now, I'm sorry.
Part of it is in the budget, though. Part of TCD is budget.
we cover in this over, they are funded by their enterprise fund.
They had
Absolutely.
$5,825 or something that we gave them for their budget.
The zero override budget?
Yep.
How much was it?
It's like $5,800.
No, they're not.
They're over.
Oh, it's right in this BBA.
For TCTV? TV hasn't gotten it.
Parks and Rec, sorry.
Yeah, and they already spent it because the summer program already happened. The kids already got their swim classes.
We have a big election on November 2nd. I think a lot of people are gonna show up on the ballot questions and the midterms and all of that. if somehow we have the election for the override, then that's gonna be the biggest opportunity. And at the end of the day, you move the town meeting to the very next day. And if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't, you make the cuts then and use the free money to pay up the difference for these next 3 months.
We
Less
can't,
than 3
I'm
months.
sorry, we can't legally do that. I wish we could, but we can't.
Okay, that.
Yeah, I know,
Not
in a
being part
perfect
of the
world,
process and legal
yeah.
process.
The clerk has told us, yes. Unfortunately.
Can I ask a question? What is the purpose of going through every single one of these things at this point? Pick a number, you know, halfway between the 2 and the 4 million last time, 3 million, put it out there, and then worry about how to do it as opposed to postponing everything a week or 2 weeks. Why go through the effort?
Well, we've already been declined one override. And then I think people are gonna wanna know.
Well, I'm not
Where are
saying
these
not.
funds gonna be appropriated? What are we gonna have to cut? What are we gonna be able to save? I think they're gonna want clarification. They're gonna want.
I'm not saying not give it to them.
Mr. Chairman, are we allowing open conversation tonight or are we sticking to our rules?
No, I'm letting people talk because we're in the budget thing and it's still important.
We had some people that were unclear about that. Some people wanted to speak up and they weren't.
So
I'm suggesting 3 million, right? While get the 35-day clock running, right? During that period, make it quite clear what the ramifications of it not passing actually means. That is what I'm suggesting.
You know what numbers don't pass? Round numbers. Someone told the select board one time, what's the real number? On the floor, they said, you have a round number. What's the real number? Because in real life, numbers aren't round. There's always a few pennies here, a dollar here. That's what this is what. Getting that round, that number. You can't just say 3 million because you're gonna get a bunch of people that are gonna say no, because it's a round number. It's gonna be like a blank check to them and they're not gonna understand it. I know people like that who vote like that. They've told us, and they've sat here in this room to prior boards and said or sat on the floor of the town meeting and said those words, you know, and they're right.
So what if we were to, it's a chief's suggestion. Full FY 27 budget passed. And times that by 10%, what do we get?
So that would be a much bigger number than
Yep.
this. I don't know what that number comes out to, as far as the tax increase for the average single family tax bill. But I've been told, I haven't asked you this, but.
What number?
Well, no, I don't know. But I've been told that, if we just did the 1.1 million, it's somewhere around $100 or something. But I haven't officially asked Justice that.
No.
330.
I was asked this like a week ago. I'll tell you about that. It's still, yeah, but go with all those. But like, you can get that.
Yes, please.
Okay. So for an override amount of 1.1, so that'd be 1,100,000 added on to the tax levy. As if it's using FY 26's numbers, you would be looking at an increase in the tax rate of about 92 cents. That comes out to $348.02 for the average single family home, which brings the total amount up to $4,838 and about 26 cents, give or take a penny.
Good, glad you clarified that. So any larger number would be much more than that. So I can't see something like that passing here. I would stick to what you need bare minimum. You know, plus the midnight shift, basically just maintaining.
That's the even breakdown.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember this, yeah. So I would kind of stick to this 1.1 million because it's the bare minimum what we need. And yeah, I know it only buys us till next year, but it's, you know, be the most likely thing to pass. It's not going to hurt your services. Yeah.
And you have to allow for like 100,000 per month to allow for the additional costs.
Correct.
And then if it doesn't pass, well, then we deal with that then.
Well, that's why we need to we have to have a budget to know what the number will be if it doesn't, if it fails, so that we have a budget to go, so that we can be certified to get the money to pay all the bills next year, so that's kind of important to know. You can't just sit there and wait and cross your fingers and hope it does. It all has to be done now, because that's the responsible thing to do.
Right, I understand, but
Yeah.
the school is not gonna accept a 0% increase.
Oh, we all know that.
But what happens then? What happens when the school budget happens? We're into another override ask. And you wanna piss voters off then? Keep on asking for overrides.
Well, we know, we watch it in different towns.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and
I don't know how you make the school understand.
I think Liz was right, at a minimum 3.
I would second that. Because we already know the school's coming at us next year with over $1 million.
Dave,
So you're just gonna give it to them then?
7, I think it's what.
You're just saying you're giving it to them.
it was stated at one of the joint school committee meetings by the business manager to look for it's at least a $1 million increase next year. That's partly mostly due to the teacher's contract and the busing contract, which was,
I mean, just salaries alone, it's going up 600,000.
Yep.
So,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
while I don't disagree, that's gonna be harder to explain to the public. So 1.1 million and change, we can explain, because we could say, okay, all these cuts would happen, blah, 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 X, Y, and Z. But if you ask for more money, the rest of that's gonna be difficult to explain and you know, it's gonna be too squishy for the public to sort of absorb it. You're gonna get a lot of people frustrated by
I
that.
thought we're gonna have to come back for more next year if we don't.
No, but I'm just saying it's.
The
look
lower
down
group
the
is
road,
easy to get
that's
through
what
the.
the school said they were
Oh.
looking for, but this override would just be to deal with 27.
Yes.
Hopefully have an amount that would give us some cushion, for things going up on the town side, just.
Don't disagree, but you know, passing an override's all about communication. The more complicated, the more difficult you make it, the less likely it is to happen.
So, well, that's what I mean, the override, the amount, and if we're gonna break it down, what it's gonna be used for.
Right. Yeah, the
would give-
1.1 million, we can explain. I'm thinking a bigger number would be much more difficult to explain, because now we're getting into trying to explain to the public what future costs. So, you know, what are we gonna do? Reach out to the school, get projections, pull contracts. We don't have a lot of time to do this.
No.
Right.
Let me interrupt. We don't reach out to the school and get a projection.
Yeah.
We are their customer. They are not the town.
I get that, Tim. I'm talking about how we communicate a larger number. I'm agreeing with you in a sense. I don't think that would be practical. So that's what I'm saying. I think a smaller number asking for just what we need this year is the thing that's most likely gonna pass.
And piss everybody off next year.
We're gonna be right back in the same spot come April and May.
I don't necessarily disagree, but we have to deal with this here and now.
Monday, the 17th of August at time, consensus on the time, 6:30.
30.
Anything's fine.
Anything's fine for me.
6:30,
6:30.
6:30. 6:30, 6:30. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, to confirm, the board would like to see what I can do with just looking at public safety and public services, right? Fire to public services, just look at those three.
Uh,
So
Board-
don't touch town hall
Yes.
and,
uh,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and back when we started making the cuts, we said we would not close the library and the senior center,
And then maybe we can bring some line item cuts
so.
to the table too. Then maybe you guys can present us with some line item too.
So are you good on,
Yeah, I'll look at public safety DPS and, any expense lines that might correspond with that, and I'll see what it adds up to.
Okay, we'll chain the town accountant to her office and I'll bring her some food tomorrow so she doesn't go off and
Going away.
can help us out.
Going to learn payroll, remember?
It's been canceled.
No, you
She's here now.
you can check out, but you can never leave.
Have fun at payroll class.
Make sure you get out of it.
So, before we go too far, I'd like to thank everybody for coming and your questions and yes, I did allow people to talk because this was important. No, it's important. When we whittled everything down to just the budget. So again, thank you for the departments that gave us what little there is to give. It's a big ask. There's a few that's been down this road before and hasn't gotten any fun. So if you have, I appreciate all the departments. Appreciate y'all for coming here. Put in for overtime and all that good stuff. No, people, they don't. They're here on their, basically they're right there. And thank you for the residents for coming and sitting here and for your input. It is heard. It's not always answered because it's not an excuse. It sounds like one, but this year especially, it's just one thing after another. We've probably been to more meetings in 3 or 4 months than we generally do in a year. So not an excuse, just work had to be done. So on that note, we're board member comments, Mr. May.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming. This is a lousy situation all the way around and there's no win, no matter what. The one thing I would like to ask, if anybody happens to win Powerball tonight, bring it on.
Little donation.
But I really do, for, the people that are, let's say, somewhat safe in their positions and the people that aren't safe in their positions, like Bealboya. It's not a nice place to be. And I don't think there's one of us on this board that wants to lay anybody off, let anybody go. But I don't see a choice right now. And I'm a little bit concerned with our plan, but we'll see where it goes. We'll see if we get some fruit out of this thing. But thank you for your patience. And any input you have would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Ms. Graves?
Just want to thank everybody for coming out and spending the time and telling us what they think. And anybody at home, if you have any more thoughts or things, please send them our way. You can find all our emails on the town website at templetonma.gov under select board. We like to hear from the whole community, their thoughts. I mean, not just the fraction of people that we've heard from so far. And I'd like to thank all of our employees. They work very hard and tirelessly, and they are seen and are appreciated more than they can ever know. And I'm sorry that you're in this situation. Thank you.
Ms. Clover?
I too would like to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate your inputs. And yeah, we've got some tough decisions to make. And if anybody can offer any additional light item budgets items that they can cut, please let us know. Employee versus line items, that's where we're at.
It's tough.
I'm gonna echo the comments made by the fellow board members. Anybody who doesn't know the empty seat to the right of young Mr. Graves here, that was Senator Durant, our local state senator. He heard what was said tonight. I guarantee he heard what was said tonight. If anybody's been following what he's been doing across the district, and he's got the Worcester and Hampshire districts, the underserved and represented areas. We don't get a bunch from the state. He's aware of it. He's fighting the uphill battle. He's fighting the hard fights for us. Let's continue to support the man. And I will repeat, he is hearing what we're saying. He is doing what he can do for us. If we paid attention back in April when he told our advisory committee, there's no help coming. He was dead serious with that comment. But he's fighting our good fight. Let's continue to support him. And I'm grateful he was here tonight as well. But again, thank you all for coming. Thank you for listening to all this. Thank you all for the input. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. I've said more than enough this evening. If you want to get something to the board, an idea, suggestion, anything, I'll save you from looking it up. jbennett@templetonmass.gov. It will get, that's my selectman email, and that will get to the rest of the board.
Templeton MA,
MA.gov.
not Mass, MA.
MA.gov.
So
Gotta make sure those emails get to you.
on that note, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?